The rain hammered the old Victorian roof like fists of judgment, each drop a reminder that home was never truly left behind. Ethan slammed the car door, his heart pounding louder than the storm, and stared up at the house that had spat him out a decade ago. Its windows dark, accusatory eyes watching his return. "You think you're a man now?" His father's voice echoed from memory, the same snarl that had hurled a 10-year-old boy into the night, clutching a backpack in the hand of the only soul who'd ever fought for him. Miss Clara, the nanny who'd become his anchor in the chaos. Ethan's boots squelched on the gravel drive, the downpour soaking through his thin jacket in seconds. He'd driven straight from the Greyhound station in Boston, the gray lady's fog clinging to his skin like unresolved sins. At 20, he was no longer the scrawny kid with dirt-streaked cheeks and eyes too wide for his face, but the weight of that night pressed on him still, the night his world shattered under the weight of a single stolen kiss. It had been innocent, or so he'd thought. In the dim glow of the backyard treehouse, hidden among the maples that flanked their sprawling Connecticut estate, he'd leaned in toward Tommy Hargrove, the neighbor boy with freckles like constellations and a laugh that made Ethan's stomach flip like a stone skipped across the lake. 10 years old, hormones barely whispering, but enough for curiosity to bloom into something his parents couldn't fathom. Tommy's lips had been soft, tasting of cherry chapstick and summer secrets. They'd pulled apart giggling, sworn eternal brotherhood, but whispers traveled faster than fireflies in Willow Creek. By morning, the Hargroves had called. Ethan's father, Harlan Whitaker, a steel magnate whose fortune was built on bending wills and breaking unions, exploded in the breakfast nook. "What the hell is this? My son, playing queer games." His mother's face had drained of color, her pearl necklace clutched like a rosary against heresy. They didn't wait for explanations, no therapy, no hushed family meeting. Just a verdict. Expulsion. "You're no son of mine," Harlan had growled, shoving Ethan's backpack into his arms. "Get out. And don't come back until you've fixed whatever devil's in you." But Ethan hadn't gone alone. Miss Clara, Clara Beaumont, the wiry black woman from the bayous of Louisiana who'd raised him since his mother deemed childcare beneath her, had stepped forward like a lioness. At 50 then, with salt and pepper braids pinned under a starched cap and eyes that held the wisdom of civil rights marches and quiet church hymns, she'd faced down Harlan without flinching. "You touch that boy, Mr. Whitaker, and you'll answer to more than your conscience." She'd bundled Ethan into her battered Ford, the engine coughing like an old smoker's lungs, and driven south into the unknown. "Ain't no family worth a damn if they can't love you whole," she'd said, her voice steady as the Mississippi she'd once crossed for freedom. They'd landed in New Orleans, in the shotgun house Clara inherited from her mama, tucked in the Treme where jazz wailed from every corner and the air smelled of gumbo and grief. Ethan enrolled in public school, learned to navigate the humid streets where kids eyed his pale Yankee skin with wary curiosity. Clara worked double shifts at a diner, her hands calloused from flipping po'boys, but she made space for him. In the kitchen, teaching him to knead dough for beignet, her stories of Stonewall and Harvey Milk weaving threads of hope into his unraveling heart. "Love ain't a sin, Cher. It's the only holy thing we got." Years blurred. High school brought crushes, on the quarterback with the easy smile, the poet in art class who sketched Ethan's profile in charcoal. But betrayal came early and sharp. At 16, Ethan fell hard for Javier, a transfer student from Miami with sun-kissed skin and a guitar that sang of lost loves. Their first date was a stolen afternoon in City Park, palms whispering secrets as Javier's hand found his. "You're beautiful," Javier murmured, and Ethan believed him, until the texts surfaced, screenshots from a friend, outing Javier's homophobia to his evangelical parents. "It's just a phase," Javier had sobbed when confronted. But the damage was done. Ethan ghosted him, built walls higher than the levees, and threw himself into books, dreaming of escape. Clara watched it all, her silence a balm. She'd lost her own love young, a woman named Delphine, taken by the bottle after the world crushed her spirit. But she never burdened Ethan with it. Instead, she pushed him, community college, then a scholarship to Tulane for journalism. "Write the truth, baby. That's how you heal the lies." Now, a decade later, the truth had dragged him north. A letter from his mother's lawyer, Eleanor Whitaker, ever the picture of wasp perfection, summoning him for Harlan's funeral. Heart attack, sudden as a thunderclap. Your presence is requested to settle the estate. It read. Cold as the Connecticut winters, Ethan had fled. But it wasn't duty that pulled him back. It was Clara, diagnosed with pancreatic cancer 6 months prior. She'd hidden it until the pain became a thief stealing her sleep. I need to see this through for you, she'd insisted, packing her own bag. Can't let you face those wolves alone. The porch light flickered on as Ethan reached the steps, casting long shadows that danced like ghosts. Clara's hand slipped into his, warm and papery, her floral scarf a defiant splash of color against the storm. Ready, Cher? She whispered. He nodded, throat tight. The door creaked open, revealing his sister, Lydia, 32 now, her blonde bob impeccable, eyes rimmed red but sharp as ever. Ethan, she breathed, the name a question and an accusation. Behind her, the foyer loomed, all polished oak and ancestral portraits glaring down like judges. One step inside, and the past rushed at him like a tidal wave. Lydia pulled him into a hug that felt more obligation than affection, her Chanel perfume cloying. It's been too long. Her voice cracked, but Ethan saw the flicker. The same judgment that had lingered in family letters, sparse and signed with reservations. Clara hung back, her presence a quiet thunder, until Lydia's gaze landed on her. Miss Clara? You came. Wouldn't miss it, Clara replied, her tone honey over steel. Family's family. The house swallowed them, its walls echoing with ghosts. Upstairs, the guest room was unchanged, blue wallpaper peeling at the edges. The twin bed where Ethan had hidden comics under the mattress to escape his father's lectures on manhood. He dropped his bag, sank onto the quilt his grandmother stitched, and let the tears come. Clara sat beside him, her hand on his knee. Breathe, boy. We ain't here to beg. We're here to claim what's ours. Dinner was a battlefield disguised as mourning. The dining room table groaned under silver platters. Roast beef, creamed spinach, potatoes au gratin. Eleanor's attempt at normalcy. Cousins murmured condolences. Aunts dabbed eyes with monogrammed hankies. Harlan's empty chair loomed at the head, a throne without a king. Ethan took his old seat, feeling 14 again, under the chandelier's judgmental sparkle. Eleanor entered last, regal in black silk, her silver hair coiled like a crown. She paused at the threshold, eyes locking on Ethan. You've grown, she said, voice a scalpel. No welcome home, no embrace, just assessment. So have you, he replied, the words sharper than intended. Clara's foot nudged his under the table, a reminder to hold steady. Conversation skirted the edges. Harlan's legacy at the mill, Lydia's divorce from that Wall Street prick, the cousins' Ivy League brags. But tension coiled like smoke. When dessert arrived, cheesecake, Ethan's childhood favorite, Eleanor cleared her throat. Ethan, after this, we should discuss the will. Privately. Clara's fork paused midair. Mind if I join? Been part of this family longer than most. Eleanor's lips thinned. As you wish. The study was Harlan's sanctum. Leather-bound books, a globe scarred from whiskey tumblers, the faint scent of pipe tobacco. Eleanor unlocked the safe, producing a folder thick as accusation. Your father. He provided for you in his way. A trust fund, modest. But conditions. Ethan's stomach dropped. Conditions. Therapy. Confirmation of stability. Marriage, perhaps. He wanted assurance you'd corrected course. Clara's laugh was low, dangerous. Corrected? Lady, that boy was never broken. You were. Eleanor's eyes flashed. You overstepped, Clara. You were staff. And you were mother? Clara shot back. Failed at that, didn't you? The room crackled. Ethan stood, chair scraping. Enough. I don't want his money. I came for closure, not chains. But as he stormed out, the folder clutched in his fist. He glimpsed something inside. A letter in Harlan's scrawl, yellowed and sealed. To my son, it began. His hand trembled. What truths had his father buried? Outside, the rain eased to a drizzle, stars piercing the clouds like hesitant promises. Clara wrapped an arm around him. Whatever's in there, share, it don't define you. You do. That night, sleep evaded him. Dreams tangled. Tommy's kiss, Javier's betrayal, Harlan's roar. And woven through it all, Clara's voice, a lighthouse in the fog. Dawn broke gray, the estate stirring with funeral preparations. Ethan slipped the letter into his pocket, unresolved. The service awaited, a parade of hypocrisy where he'd stand not as prodigal, but as survivor. As the organ swelled in the Presbyterian chapel, Ethan took his place in the pew, Clara's hand a lifeline. The minister droned of Harlan's unwavering faith. But Ethan saw the cracks. The mill workers laid off without pensions. The wife Harlan gaslit into silence. When it was his turn to speak, the congregation leaned in, expectant. He rose, voice steady. My father taught me strength, but not the kind he meant. He showed me what happens when fear masquerades as love. Gasps rippled. Eleanor's face paled. I was 10 when he threw me out for being who I am. Gay. Human. For loving without apology. The word hung electric. He died without saying sorry, but I forgive him anyway, because holding hate, that's the real exile. Clara squeezed his hand, pride shining in her eyes. Outside, as dirt hit the coffin, Ethan felt the first fracture in his armor. Not breaking, but bending toward light. But closure? That was a lie. The real storm brewed back at the house, where secrets festered like untreated wounds. The wake blurred into a haze of handshakes and hollow sympathies. The Whitaker estate's grand hall transformed into a mausoleum of crystal glasses and whispered scandals. Ethan navigated it like a minefield, cousins pressing for details on his adventures in the South. Code for, how'd the queer kid turn out? He deflected with smiles honed from years of diner small talk. But inside, the letter burned against his thigh, Harlan's words a siren's call. Clara, ever the sentinel, hovered near the cheese board, her sharp eyes deflecting busybodies. Boy's a writer now, she'd say, voice carrying like a jazz horn. Tulane grad, gonna tell stories that matter. It bought him space, but the undercurrent hummed. Resentment, curiosity, judgment. Lydia cornered him by the fireplace, her wine glass trembling. That eulogy, bold, but Dad would have hated it. Good, Ethan replied, meeting her gaze. Once, they'd been allies, her sneaking him candy during groundings, him covering for her late-night smokes. But puberty drew lines, her straight, his not. Letters dwindled to Christmas cards, her script increasingly distant. He hated enough already. She winced. Mom's furious. Says you humiliated us. Us? Or her image? He softened, seeing the cracks in her polish. The divorce rings under her makeup, the way her fingers twisted her ringless hand. LYD, why'd you invite me? Really? Her eyes darted to Eleanor, holding court by the grand piano. The will. Complicated. And I miss you. God, I do. The admission cracked something in him. He pulled her into a hug, sibling scent of lavender and regret. Missed you too. But this. He gestured to the room. It's poison. Clara appeared then, plate of deviled eggs in hand. Eat both of ya. Grief's no excuse for starving. Her normalcy grounded them, a bridge over the chasm. As the evening waned, guests trickling out like sand from an hourglass, Eleanor summoned them to the study. Ethan, Lydia, Clara, and a gaunt lawyer named Pritchard, spectacles perched like a vulture's beak. The will unfolded like a bad novel. The mill to a board of Harlan's cronies, stocks to charities he'd never visited, the estate to Eleanor with a life clause for Lydia. And Ethan? A codicil. $500,000 in trust, dispersed upon demonstration of heteronormative alignment. Legalese for go straight or go broke. Gasps echoed. Lydia's hand flew to her mouth. Clara's eyes narrowed to slits. This is archaic, Pritchard muttered, adjusting his tie. But binding. Eleanor's voice sliced through. Your father believed in redemption, Ethan. This is his chance for you to reclaim your place. Reclaim. Ethan's laugh was bitter. You expelled me at 10. For a kiss. Tommy Hargrove, remember him? Your perfect neighbor boy, who came out at 18 and got disowned too. Dad's redemption is just control from the grave. Eleanor's composure fractured, a tear tracing her powder. You think I wanted that? Harlan. He was the storm. I was the shore eroding. Clara leaned forward, voice velvet over iron. Shores don't erode alone, ma'am. You chose silence. Every time. The room held its breath. Pritchard coughed. We can contest, but... No, Ethan said, standing. Burn it. I built my life without it. He stormed out, the letter crumpling in his pocket. Rain pattered against the study window, a mournful rhythm. Outside, under the porte-cochere, Lydia caught up. Wait, there's more. Dad left you something else. She pressed a key into his palm, small, brass, etched with a treehouse symbol. The attic. Go tonight. Mom doesn't know. Curiosity warred with caution, but the pull was magnetic. Midnight found him climbing the servants' stairs, Clara trailing like a shadow. The attic smelled of dust and forgotten dreams. Trunks of lace dresses, Harlan's war medals, Lydia's old dolls staring with glass eyes. A locked trunk yielded to the key, revealing not gold, but gold dust memories. A scrapbook, yellowed photos, Harlan as a boy with an arm around another lad, their smiles mirroring Ethan's and Tommy's. Tucked inside, the letter. Ethan's hands shook as he unfolded it. Son, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Words failed me in life. Maybe they'll serve in death. I see now what I did. Fear, not faith, drove me. Your mother and I. We lost a brother once, to the same shadows I cast on you. His name was Elias. My Elias. We buried him in silence, and it poisoned us. I thought exile would save you from that pain. Fool that I was. Forgive an old man his cowardice. The trust is yours, no strings. Live free. Love loud. Be the man I couldn't. Dad. Tears blurred the ink. Clara read over his shoulder, her breath hitching. Oh, Cher. He knew. Betrayal twisted fresh. Harlan's secret. Hidden like a cancer. But beneath it, a bridge. Ethan clutched the scrapbook. Elias's face a ghost of possibility. Dawn brought no peace. Word of the eulogy had spread. Reporters lurked at the gates, hungry for the Whitaker heirs coming out bombshell. Eleanor, cornered in the kitchen, confronted him over coffee. Black, bitter as their history. You paraded our shame. Shame? It's pride. He slid the letter across the marble island. Read it. Then tell me who the coward was. Her hands trembled as she scanned, color draining. Elias. He never told me this. A sob escaped, raw and unfiltered. For the first time, Ethan saw her. Not the ice queen, but a woman adrift. I failed you both. Clara, pouring cream, interjected softly. Failure ain't final. It's a start. The moment hung, fragile. But Lydia burst in then, phone in hand. Ethan, it's Tommy. He's in town. For the funeral. And he wants to see you. Heart slamming, Ethan stepped onto the veranda. The autumn air crisp with turning leaves. Tommy Hargrove stood by the fountain. Taller now, his freckles faded but smile unchanged. Cautious, hopeful. Heard your speech. Ballsy. Always knew you had M. Laughter bubbled. Unexpected. You? Still charming the pants off everyone. Only the right ones. Tommy's eyes held depths Ethan had forgotten, warm, inviting. They talked for hours, words tumbling like leaves. Lost years, coming out wars, the ache of what-ifs. I never stopped thinking about that kiss, Tommy admitted, voice low. Wish I'd fought harder. Ethan's pulse raced, old sparks igniting. Me too. As dusk fell, a shadow crossed the lawn. Javier. No, impossible. But there he was, suit rumpled, eyes haunted. Ethan. I saw the news. Flew in from Miami. Needed to say. Save it. The betrayal surged. Hot. Javier's texts, his flip, the scar on Ethan's trust. You don't get to waltz back. Javier's face crumpled. I was scared, young, but I loved you. Still do. Clara appeared, arm linking Ethan's. Boy, love don't beg. It stands. She steered him away, leaving Javier in the twilight. That night, sleep came fitful, dreams of Elias and Harlan entwining with Tommy's laugh. Morning brought the reading, Pritchard amending the will per the letters codicil. The trust was Ethan's, free and clear. Eleanor's nod was small, but real. He'd be proud. But pride was a fragile thing. As Ethan and Clara prepared to leave, Lydia pulled him aside. Stay. Rebuild. For us. Temptation tugged, but the road south called. Maybe visits, not chains. Tommy waited by the car, coffee in hand. Drive safe, but call me if you want. Ethan's smile was tentative, a door cracking open. I want. The engine roared to life, Willow Creek shrinking in the rearview. Clara hummed a spiritual, her hand on his. But as they crossed the state line, her cough rattled deep, ominous. Cancer's grip tightening. Ethan's joy soured. What home waited if she slipped away? Miles blurred, but the real journey loomed. Facing loss, not as exile, but embrace. Interstate 95 stretched south like a vein pulsing with possibility. But Ethan's grip on the wheel was white-knuckled. Clara's labored breaths the soundtrack to his unraveling resolve. The scrapbook rode shotgun, Elias's photo a talisman. Dark hair, Harlan's jawline, eyes crinkled in forbidden joy. Think he found peace? Ethan asked, voice thick. Clara shifted, her scarf slipping to reveal hollowed cheeks. Peace ain't found, Cher. It's made. Every day. Her words were a map, but the chemo scars on her arms told of battles lost. She downplayed it, just a bump. But the drive north had sapped her, each mile a thief. They stopped in Richmond for the night, a roadside motel with neon flickering vacancy, like a hesitant heartbeat. Over takeout po' boys, Clara's insistence. She finally cracked. Tumors grown. Docs say months, maybe. The words landed like buckshot. Ethan's fork clattered. Why didn't you? Tell you sooner? Wanted you to have this. She nodded to the folder of his trust disbursement, already wired to his account. Your fresh start. Not my sunset. Rage flared, hot and helpless. Sunset? You're my dawn, Clara. We fight this together. He pulled her into an embrace, her frailty a knife twist. That night, he lay awake scrolling job listings, journalism gigs in NOLA, investigative pieces on LGBTQ rights. Tommy's number burned in his phone. Uncalled. Too soon, too raw. Back on the road, podcasts filled the silence. Stories of queer icons, from Audre Lorde to Elliot Page, voices defiant against erasure. Clara dozed, waking to share tales of Delphine. Fiery, piano-fingered, lost to addiction after a raid on their jazz club speakeasy. Love like ours? It burns bright, but the world's got matches. New Orleans welcomed them with brass bands and beignet dust, the Treme alive with second lines snaking through streets. Home. Ethan settled Clara in, summoning Dr. Thibodeau for home visits, researching trials at Oxnard. But the trust money whispered temptations. A down payment on the house next door, renovations for Clara's comfort, stability after years of scraping. Tommy texted first, saw a clip of your speech, went viral. You're a hero. Ethan replied with a photo of Clara napping under magnolias. Caption. Heroes need anchors. The banter flowed. Tommy's life as a graphic designer in Brooklyn. His own mending heart post-breakup. Ever think of NYC? Tommy ventured. Too cold. Ethan joked, but the seed planted. Clara noticed, her smile sly. That Hargrove boy? Got fire in him. Don't let fear douse it. Work beckoned. A freelance gig for The Advocate, profiling Southern queer activists. Interviews led to late nights in dive bars, tales of church burnings and ballot fights. Ethan wrote feverishly words at exorcism. But shadows crept. Javier emailed. An apology novella. I was poisoned then. Therapy's taught me better. If forgiveness is too much, just know I'm rooting for you. Delete. Block. But the echo lingered. A reminder. Betrayal's half-life. Clara's decline accelerated like a jazz solo gone frantic. One evening, as gumbo simmered, she collapsed. Kitchen floor cool against her cheek. Ambulance wailed. ER lights harsh. Stage 4, the oncologist confirmed. Hospice talk. Ethan raged at the gods, at Harlan's ghost, at the universe's cruel irony. In the dim ward, Clara gripped his hand. Promise me, share, live loud, for Elias, for Delphine, for us. Her eyes, fever bright, held oceans. And that boy, grab hold. Love's the only rebellion. He nodded, throat sealed. Tommy flew down unannounced, landing at Louis Armstrong with a duffel and determination. Heard about Clara. Figured you could use backup. His hug was solid. No questions, just presence. Stocking the fridge with Clara's favorites. Holding Ethan's hand during vigils. Nights, they walked the quarter, gas lamps casting halos on cobblestones. Tommy's stories of designing Pride logos, marching in Stonewall echoes, wove with Ethan's, vulnerabilities bared like Bourbon Street sins. One rain-slick evening, under a wrought iron balcony, Tommy cupped Ethan's face. That kiss at 10? Started something. Let me finish it. Their lips met, soft at first, then deepening. A decade's longing unleashed, but tender, reverent. No rush, no conquest. Just two men reclaiming stolen time. Back at the house, they curled on the porch swing. Clara's Afghan draped over them, stars wheeling overhead. But fracture came swift. Lydia called. Mom's selling the estate, but she wants you to have the treehouse. Rebuild it, maybe. Olive branch, laced with Eleanor's postscript, for redemption. Ethan flew north alone, Tommy staying with Clara. Willow Creek autumn was peak blaze, oranges and reds like Judgment Day. The treehouse sagged, vines choking its frame. But the view, lake glittering, maples sentinel, stirred ghosts. Inside, faded carvings. E plus T, hearts intertwined. His and Tommy's childish eternal. Eleanor met him there, bundled in cashmere, eyes softer. I read the letter. All of it. She handed him a box, Elias's, filled with letters to Harlan, unsent pleas for acceptance. He loved you in his broken way, as do I. The admission unlocked floods. They sat on the grass, weeds tickling ankles, sharing silences heavy with what-ifs. I was scared, she confessed, of losing you to the world, like him. Fear lost me anyway, Ethan said, but gently. Let's try truth now. Back south, hope flickered, but Clara's cough echoed like thunder. One dawn, she woke gasping, monitors beeping frenzy. Ethan and Tommy rushed, hands clasped. In the hush, as machines quieted, Clara smiled. Y'all look like home. Her last breath was a sigh release. The funeral was a second line. Brass defiant, mourners two-stepping grief into grace. Tommy's arm anchored Ethan, their love a quiet vow amid the sway. But in the crowd, Javier lingered at the edge, eyes pleading. Ethan approached, not with fire, but ash. Forgive? Maybe. But forget? No. Move on. Javier nodded, vanishing into the crowd. A chapter closed. Weeks blurred. Clara's house now his, trust funding expansions. A queer youth center in her name, treehouse blueprints for Nola. Tommy relocated south. Their days a rhythm of sketches and stories. But doubt gnawed. Was this love, or rebound from loss? Climax crashed on All Saints' Eve. A package arrived from Eleanor. The family Bible hollowed, containing Harlan's hidden journal. Pages chronicled Elias's death. Not suicide, as told, but a hate crime cover-up. Harlan's complicity, Eleanor's silence, the mill's ties to anti-gay donors. Rage boiled. Ethan drove north unannounced, journal in hand, confronting the remnants. Eleanor, frail in her Boston brownstone, crumbled. We buried it to survive. Survived? You killed pieces of us. Betrayal's blade twisted. Family's original sin, mirrored in his exile. Lydia arrived, mediating. We end the cycle. Donate the mill proceeds to queer causes. In Dad's name, twisted, but redemptive. Ethan stormed out, but Tommy's call pulled him back. Come home. We build from ruins. The flight south was catharsis, tears salting the clouds. Landing, he found Tommy on the porch, easel out. A mural of Clara, wings of magnolias, Elias beside her, hands linked with Harlan's ghost, forgiven. Winter softened into spring, New Orleans blooming riotous. Azaleas exploding pink, the air thick with jasmine and renewal. Ethan's youth center rose from Clara's backyard, a beacon of exposed brick and rainbow murals. Beaumont House, plaque gleaming. Tommy's designs breathed life into it. Wall art of intertwined hands. Quotes from Lord etched in iron. Openings drew crowds. Kids like 10-year-old Ethan, eyes wide with secrets. Elders sharing stonewall scars. Funding flowed from the trust. Harlan's ghost unwittingly sponsoring safe spaces. Their love deepened in the quiet hours. Mornings with café au lait on the stoop. Evenings tracing tattoos Tommy, inked on Ethan's forearm. A treehouse silhouette, E+T eternal. No grand gestures, just the romance of shared silences. Laughter over burnt rue. Vulnerability bared like levee breaches. You're my compass, Tommy murmured one night, fingers lacing. Ethan, once adrift, believed it. But ghosts demanded reckoning. Eleanor visited in May, suitcase light, demeanor lighter. Lydia drove her, sister and son bridging chasms over beignet breakfasts. The mill's sold, Eleanor announced, voice steady. Proceeds to Glad, Lambda Legal. Harlan's ledgers. Exposed. Quietly. Ethan's fork paused. Exposed how? Journal. We published excerpts, anonymized. A tycoon's reckoning. Her eyes met his, unflinching. Truth as amends. Papers buzzed. Headlines of corporate hypocrisy. Donors fleeing like rats. Backlash hit. Threats scrawled on Beaumont House walls. Slurs echoing Harlan's roar. Ethan fortified. Security cams. Community watches. Tommy stood sentinel. His Brooklyn edge sharpening into southern steel. Climax revisited in summer swelter. A rally at Jackson Square. Pride precursor. Speeches thundering against rising bands. Ethan keynote. Voice amplified. Exile isn't just banishment. It's erasure. But we rewrite the map. Cheers swelled. But as he descended the stage, a figure emerged from the throng. Harlan's old foreman, grizzled and guilt-ridden. Mr. Whitaker, Ethan, your pa he confessed to me and, about Elias, made me promise to protect you boys at the mill. Never did, till now. The man pressed a check modest from union remnants. For the kids. Redemption's ripple. But betrayal's echo surfaced crueler. Lydia called frantic. Mom's sick, like Clara. Fast. Ethan flew north, Tommy in tow, their first trip as unit. Connecticut summers hummed with cicadas. The estate a husk awaiting sale. Eleanor lay in the master, monitors beeping dirge. Her silver hair fanned like surrender. Came to gloat, she whispered, but her smile betrayed hope. No, Ethan said, taking her hand, cold but grasping. To say goodbye right. Days blurred into vigils. Lydia's tears, Eleanor's stories. Of a young love thwarted by society. Harlan's initial fire dimmed by ambition. I chose safety over soul, she admitted. Don't you? Tommy charmed the nurses, sketched portraits. Eleanor radiant, not ravaged. In the garden, under the maples, he and Ethan renewed vows unspoken. Whatever comes, we face it flanked. Eleanor's passing was gentle. A sunset sigh, family encircling. Funeral simple, Unitarian rite, eulogies honest. Ethan spoke last. She taught me grace isn't weakness. It's the courage to bend. Lydia clung to him after, whispering, stay, co-run the foundation. Temptation tugged, but roots held south. Visits, partners, not prisoners. Back in NOLA, autumn painted the bayou gold. Beaumont House thrived, workshops on coming out, art therapy for the exiled. One crisp evening, Tommy knelt amid magnolias, ring simple, white gold, engraved E+T. Marry me? Not for forever, though that's the plan, but for right now, every day. Tears pricked. Yes, 1,000 times. Wedding was intimate. Second line procession, Clara's recipe gumbo, elders toasting with Sazeracs. Lydia flew in, Eleanor's ashes scattered in the lake via proxy. A final homecoming. Javier sent a card. Happiest for you. Truly. Forgiven, not forgotten. Years wove forward. Ethan's book, Exile's Echo. A Queer American Reckoning. Top charts, proceeds fueling shelters. Tommy's firm boomed. Designs adorning pride flags worldwide. They adopted. A boy from the foster cracks, 10 and terrified, teaching him treehouse truths. Love builds, never breaks. One dawn, Ethan woke to coffee and quiet. Tommy stirred beside him, their son giggling in the next room. Outside, the Mississippi rolled eternal. No exiles left. Only home, human, flawed, fiercely loved. In the end, the boy expelled at 10 hadn't returned broken. He'd returned whole, with his nanny's spirit as guide, forging a legacy where fear yielded to family, one unapologetic heart at a time.